Unfortunately, we have all but decided at this point this show is going to go in this direction. But yeah, just watched episode 8 of Higehiro. After being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. And this is my thoughts on the episode. But yeah, like I mentioned, I think we've all but confirmed at this point that this is the direction that the show is going to go. I'm impartial to it. I understand this is technically, I think, a 17-year-old. The guy is a 26, 27-year-old. There's a 10-year gap here. She is still technically underage for Western viewpoints. Again, I'm not going to get too detailed on that stuff, but there was a hope, personally, based on the idea that I was pretty heavy on the idea that this show was going to do something where it's essentially talking about a very taboo subject, but being respectful of it. And so there is a side of me that feels a little betrayed, because, yeah, even though I technically put a lot of caveats to, I don't know the writer's intent. I don't know where he's going to go with the story. He could eventually go the route of relationship. But there was a side of me that was like, okay, let's just do a story about a guy that takes care of a younger person, and it be kind of like a father's daughter's idea or a big brother, little sister kind of thing. It doesn't always have to turn into a relationship. And sure enough, that's seemingly what they're doing at this point. It does seem like all signs are pointing to Yoshida having at least just attraction to Sayu at this point, not necessarily showing any signs that he loves her romantically, but obviously they are showing that he has a physical attraction to her at this point, and that he does want her around. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean romantic, and that's a completely different, that's where it's going to the realms of I cannot be without you no matter what. On the opposite side, yeah, it's pretty dang clear that Sayu does love Yoshida, and that's perfectly, honestly, understandable. Again, this is this whole aspect of a guardian that does show somebody who has nothing, some kind of affection. They're obviously going to be drawn and attached to them. Now, there is a little side of me that still believes that there might be a message here. It could be that that the writer is going to go in that direction, but it ends up saying something about it. And that little hint is really coming from what Mishima is telling him. Essentially, when the episode opens up, Sayu is still being pursued by her brother. She ends up bumping into Mishima. Mishima, knowing that she's being pursued, takes her to a karaoke place. They let Yoshida know that they're just at a karaoke place, not exactly why she's there. And then during this conversation between Sayu and Mishima when they're alone, Mishima's trying to tell her, why are you grocery shopping? Your time is limited. You have to go back home soon. Why are you grocery shopping? Why aren't you taking advantage of the time that you have? And basically claiming to her, look, the people that you can meet and the time you can spend with them is only in the now. It's almost like she's saying it's not guaranteed that you're going to have the chance now that you will have later. Almost like giving her a bump forward. But then when Yoshida shows up and Mishima notes like this quick little glance that Yoshida has with Sayu, she becomes jealous, and she becomes frustrated by this aspect. And as he's leaving, he goes to offer to pay for it, and she's like, "No, it's fine. You don't have to pay for this." And he's like, "No, it's fine." And she's like, "There you go again. You're doing that thing where you think you're doing somebody a favor, and it's for them, but you're lying to yourself, basically." And this is something that she said before. You're always nice to people, but you always make it in a way that you think you're doing it for somebody else, but not for yourself. And this is something that he'll again realize later on when he's trying to pay for Sayu's stuff. She's like, no. And he's like, no, and he realizes that what she said, and he's like, no, I'm going to do it because I want to. But on top of this, the other thing that Mishima tells Sayu when they're alone is this aspect that the both of them are psychologically connected. They have almost a codependency between each other that they can't exist without the other. Yoshida needs her because he needs something in his life. He needs this existence of somebody with him. He doesn't want to be alone. At the same time, Sayu needs Yoshida to keep on the forward straight path out of the kind of darkness that she's been kind of stuck in this whole time. She needs a way of being able to focus on her future, and she didn't have that before, and that's what Yoshida is giving her. So there is a codependency that they're kind of establishing between the two of them, and Mishima is kind of pointing this out. And at what point do these two ideas, one being brought up multiple times, possibly can lay into doing something interesting with this topic, rather than it just be Oh, he bagged the high schooler in the end. I It's a touchy subject. It's very taboo, but at the same time, it's not really doing much outside of essentially feeding another fantasy. And that's the struggle. I don't want this show to just be a feeding the fantasy. This was a show that, like I said, was touching on a taboo. It was being respectful of it. It led me to believe that it was going to be respectful of it. And now it's just going into feeding the taboo, feeding this idea that ends up in the end being kind of disappointing. And not that I'm angry about it. It's just, like I said, it almost is a betrayal, even though I said I had those caveats that we don't know the writer's intent. He could be going this direction, bag the high schooler. But even still, in the end, it is driving a lot of really nice drama and messages behind Sayu herself. It's just, it's going in the route where it's throwing Yoshida out the window for me. And I'm like, okay, that was nothing to him. He just, acted high and mighty, and now he's bagging the high schooler. So it is what it is. Now, unfortunately, at the very end, obviously, the brother shows up at Yoshida's door as they wake up in the morning. He opens the door. It's the brother's there. Sister obviously acknowledges he's there. And here becomes a good question. Who told the brother? How did the brother find out? All signs point to Mishima. I'm sorry. I gotta say it. That girl is... And I don't... This is really hard for me to say. Mishima is a jealous mess. And I feel for her. Again, I don't blame her. And why I don't blame her, and this is what I know, there's going to be a lot of, and if it turns out it's Mishima, I bet there's going to be a big hatred towards Mishima in the community. I don't blame Mishima. Because again, go back to episode 7 or episode 6? I pointed out very specifically in my impressions, Yoshida did something very dirty. Yoshida, in having Mishima confess to him in broad daylight, he said nothing. And it was a perfect time for him to say, I'm sorry, Mishima, I'm not interested. Just let her move on. But instead, he did nothing. So he basically dragged her along. And in doing this, it continues to fuel her jealousy. So if I blame anybody, I'm going to blame Yoshida. Not Mishima. Yes, she is a jealous mess. But I blame Yoshida because he still led her on. Technically, back when she first embraced him on their movie date, he should have said something there. Look, I'm sorry, you're obviously being a little bit forward. I'm not interested. Again, he dragged her on. She confessed, didn't say anything, dragged her on further, and this is the result. You're building a jealous person that's getting heartbroken every 2 seconds because they think they have a chance. And now she's going to, again, I am assuming that she told the brother in order to break up that relationship. And I don't know, maybe she might have done it because she feels that it's dangerous. I mean, technically, Yoshida, at the very end of this episode, when they went to the festival, he realized, look, you need to go home. Because there's a chance, and again, this is really difficult because we don't see much inner dialogue. We don't hear what Yoshida's thinking. We just see what he's looking at. And he's obviously having, physical attraction to Sayu. He's obviously realizing his dependency on her and the feeling that he needs her. And he's come to the conclusion at this festival anyways, no, you need to go home. Whether it's because he's fearful that the fact that he's becoming attracted to her, if he's fearful of the dependency he's having on her, or if he is actually looking out for her future. I doubt it's the last one, but I know he does care for her, but I think at that moment, those first two are probably going to be on his mind more than the last one. And so he's obviously seeing this as a dangerous thing. He's getting to that point where he's in a dangerous zone. Socially, he's in a dangerous zone. He's going to get himself in trouble. And maybe Mishima has finally realized that, and maybe she's doing it, maybe out of pit of jealousy, could be about the fact that she's afraid for him. Like, you obviously look like, again, she said he gave her that look that he'll never give me. She's seen that attraction. Maybe she's doing it because she wants to stop this. She's afraid for the one that she loves. Yes, out of jealousy, but also because he loves her, he doesn't want him to get in trouble. Who knows? We'll see. But like I said, I'm not throwing Mishima out the window, even though I do agree that I think that she's the one that did it. But what do you guys think? Who do you think called him? Do you think he just figured it out himself? What do you think about this relationship blossoming? Do you think it's in the area where it's going to touch the taboo a little bit too much? Do you think it's going down the bag the high schooler route? Do you think it might still end up being a thankfully please just keep it to Guardian status? But yeah, it's a little disappointing. Honestly, a little disappointing. But let me know in the comments below. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. And I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.